Welcome to this new video in which I will show you how to automate your engagement on social media, including your likes and comments. I'm starting the demo. We will browse a random number of tweets, with this number defined by a minimum and maximum specified in the template. And we will randomly select the tweets and posts that we like and comment on, simulating human behavior as much as possible through scrolling, random delays, etc., all without an API, using only the browser. So here it applies to Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. But you will see that the principle is actually the same for all social media platforms, since navigation is done in the same way. And indeed, between each social media platform, there are some subtle differences, but 90% of the steps are the same. So personally, I have been using them daily on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram for 6 weeks now. They run automatically every 2 to 3 hours, depending on the case, averaging about 10 comments per day on each network for the past 6 weeks. And for 6 weeks, everything has been going well. I haven't had any problems. On the contrary, people thank me for my comments. They find them super useful, super rewarding. So there you go. It's all positive. I still warn you because, as you must know, all social media platforms without exception are cracking down on automation. So what I'm going to show you here, be careful to use it with your own judgment, because you risk, despite everything, a suspension or even a total ban, a complete shutdown of your account on social media. So be careful. What I'm going to show you is more for demonstration purposes of the educational virtues, in quotes. It works very well for me at the moment, but who's to say that in a week, a month, or a year, I won't suddenly receive a warning or worse? As you saw, the likes and comments happened on their own. I didn't do anything. And it does exactly the same thing on each of the social media platforms that I have really put into practice. Twitter, X, LinkedIn, Instagram. But once again, I haven't delved into the topic because I'm less interested in the other networks, but Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. Why not YouTube too? It's not a social network, but there are likes, there are comments, that's it. Why this template? Well, because as you probably know, the engagement of others on our posts partly depends on our engagement on the posts of others. So basically, to get engagement on our posts, we need to participate ourselves. It's a virtuous exchange ecosystem. If you want likes and comments, you have to like and comment. So naturally, not everyone has the time or the desire to do it manually. So if we can entrust this to a robot, it's definitely a good thing. A robot that does it in an intelligent way. This is what I try to do with this template, both by simulating human behavior and by leveraging the capabilities of ChatGPT to write the most optimal comments possible. Knowing that, I have defined a number of adjustable parameters that allow you to closely mimic your own behavior so that you can go under the radar as much as possible. In broad terms, how does it work? I have a number of variables that will allow me to simulate a behavior that corresponds to me. For example, in the case of Twitter, but again, what you see here also applies to LinkedIn, Instagram, and the other networks. There, in any case, I created templates for Twitter, for LinkedIn, and for Instagram, which work very well. I will define a random number of tweets and posts to consult at each execution of the template. So, in my example, between 10 and 15. Every time it runs, every 2 to 3 hours or more, I will check between 10 and 15 tweets, 10 and 15 posts, but according to certain conditions. That is to say, I already defined the days when this template will be active, including on these days of the week in English. So here, for example, for the case of Twitter, I want this template to run from Monday to Saturday. And between 9 a.m. and 11 p.m., not outside of that, I set days and times that correspond to my real interactions. I set a minimum character count. To determine if I have enough material to send to ChatGPT to get a good comment in return. Then I have my prompt. Next, a blacklist where you can set account names to avoid interacting with them. Never like, never comment. That's it. Everyone has their own reasons, but you may not feel like interacting with certain accounts that you see in your feed. If you are in the subscriptions tab on Twitter, logically you only interact with people you want to engage with. But if you switch to the For You tab, you may find yourself with accounts you don't really want to see. So, there you go. There is a form of filtering by account name, and then it involves values specific to ChatGPT for sending prompts and retrieving the response. So broadly speaking, I will start by generating a random engagement table. So here you see first I will define a number of posts that I will interact with, this number being random. So here you see this is the number of tweets that have been viewed. So I had set a range between 10 and 20 for a test. This gave me a number of 18, resulting in a table with 18 rows in which I have ones and zeros distributed randomly. A 1 means that a post will be liked and possibly commented on, while a 0 means that we move directly to the next post or tweet. From there, I check with conditions, so a block of conditions, if I am within the timing that I have defined. Is today perhaps one of the days I selected, and is the time slot maybe also good? Are we good, in my example, between Monday and Saturday and between 9 a.m. and 11 p.m.? If that's not the case, it goes through the fallback, so it stops. It will try again in 2 or 3 hours afterwards. If, on the other hand, the conditions are met, that's where I actually generate a random array in JavaScript. So what I just showed you here, the likes array, what I call the likes array. From there, I open Twitter, and I check if I am going to the subscriptions tab or the For You tab. So according to what I chose here, subscription, I set it to no, so it will go to For You, and as a result, I click on the correct subscription or For You tab. From there, I create a loop to read the 18 tweets in my example. So all the tweets that have been set for this execution of the template. So I start my reading of the tweets. I check whether I tweet or not, basically based on certain conditions. Do I have the value 1 in my likes array? Is the account in question from the tweet not in my blacklist? And isn't the word sponsor found in the tweet to avoid interacting with ads? If that is the case, then if it is not the case, you will see we skip all the subsequent steps to go directly to the next tweet, the next post, according to the network. So here, if that's the case, I do a little scroll. I start my simulation of human behavior by scrolling down to the tweet in question, the post in question, and from there, I wait a random delay between 5 and 10 seconds as if I were reading the message, the post in question. From there, I retrieve the text of the post, and I basically check if its length is significantly greater than the length I have defined here. So if that's not the case, we bypass the entire sequence and go directly to the next post. If, on the other hand, the condition is met, I wait an additional delay of 1 to 5 seconds. Next, I will go to ChatGPT. I send it my prompt with the tweet, and I wait for its response. So, while checking and playing with the notion of the stop button in ChatGPT, since when you send it a prompt, well, when it is active, you have a stop button. So as long as this stop button is present, it means that its response is not finished. So I rely on that to determine the right moment to retrieve the response. Once the stop button has disappeared, I get its response. I clean it up a bit to remove emojis, potentially problematic characters, and also the quotation marks, because ChatGPT tends to respond to us with double quotation marks. So if we include these double quotation marks in a comment on a network, it's not great. From there, I close ChatGPT. I return to my tab with my social network. I click on the button that allows me to trigger the comment window. I wait a random delay between 1 and 2 seconds. I write my comment at a speed that corresponds to a fast human. Let's say we can adjust this speed, and then a new random delay between 1 and 1.5 seconds. I vary all of this a little bit, the numbers, to really try to simulate human behavior as best as possible. I validate my comment. I retrieve the account name that I will save in my array here from the account's URL instead. The same goes for the tweet and my comment. From there, a new random delay between 5 and 10 seconds. Because in the meantime, in the case of Twitter, for example, the comment goes through a window that overlaps, a modal window, a kind of pop-up. So I wait for this window to disappear. So I already wait a delay of 5 to 10 seconds after submitting my comment. And then I have a condition that will ensure that this window has indeed disappeared. And I will perform this check every second for 30 seconds. Once it has completely disappeared, I reach the end of my tweet loop. So I will move on to the next tweet, and the whole process will start again. That is to say, we pick up here. We're back to that. In broad terms, it's exactly the same process on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Except that on Instagram, I add image uploads since Instagram is more of a visual network than a textual one. Often, the posts are very short, but on the other hand, the images are quite expressive. And since ChatGPT can analyze them, that might be enough. So actually, I send the image to ChatGPT, I ask it to analyze it, I accompany it with the related post, and that allows me to get great comments that are liked, for which I am thanked, etc. It's really great. This is a first version. It will definitely be improved. If you have any ideas or things you have tried on your side, we can discuss them. As usual, at Thomas, what's great is that it's really logical and playful, because you outline your process and analyze your sequence of actions. So I click here, I type some text there. So I click here, what is it? It's a click block. I enter text in a form. In a form field, it's a forms block. I press a key, it's the key press block. I open a tab, it's the new tab block. I have a condition to check. It's a conditions block. I want to retrieve text. It's a get text block. There you go. Each of your actions that you perform manually always has a block. In a playful and logical way in Automa to transcribe this action. Find this template in my Automa training, which will allow you to analyze and test it by yourself. You didn't understand everything. That's normal, I assure you. It wasn't a training video, but a demonstration, because the goal of my training is precisely to teach you progressively how to master Automa, so that you can feel comfortable with all the templates. Did you like this video? Then don't hesitate to like it, comment on it, and share it. That's what motivates me to keep going. And if you have any template ideas for future videos, let me know in the comments. And of course, to not miss any future videos, subscribe to my channel.